welcome to another episode of Love and Real Estate. I'm your local Northern Virginia realtor, Danielle, and I'm here with my co-host, my love,
Daryl.
What's going on today?
Everything is going all right. We're kind of late with this podcast, but putting out something now is better than not putting out anything. So, but we wanted to come to you today to kind of talk about what's going on in the economy. And I think the big thing that's going on right now outside of inflation is the possibility that the U.S. may default on its debt.
Oh, yeah, it's a big topic right now.
Yeah, and you remember, though, this is something that's been going on going back and forth between administrations. I remember the first time I heard about it was during the Obama administration. And, of course, I'm a federal employee, and there was some argument back and forth between at the time, the Republicans did not want to raise the debt limit without these certain concessions to U.S. spending, and Obama wanted the debt ceiling raised so the U.S. can pay its current obligations. Mm-hmm. And it ended up with a government shutdown.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
Dating then.
Yeah, exactly. I think the shutdown lasted like 15 days or whatever. So it was kind of like we got paid and it was like a 15-day vacation. But I think that the situation we in right now could be a lot more traumatic to the economy.
Oh, yeah? Why do you think that is?
Okay, so we are predicted that the U.S. will default on its debt on June the 1st if the debt ceiling is not raised.
Right.
Well, let me take that back. They may not completely default, but they will have to make certain concessions to their spending that is really going to damage the economy. So I came across an article that I wanted to discuss. It's from CNN.
Okay.
And it's entitled 5 Ways a Debt Default Could Affect You.
Oh.
And I want to get your opinion as a realtor.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to go through each one of these 5 ways a debt default could affect you, and let me know, if anything, how would this affect the current housing market, right?
Okay.
Because right now, I guess with high inflation and them trying to mitigate the inflation by raising the interest rates, that it has made the cost of borrowing more expensive.
Right.
Which means that more people probably do not want to borrow because it's so expensive. So they don't want to borrow money. More than likely, they're not going to want to purchase a home.
Yes, which then trickles into the fact that not a lot of people are listing their homes. So there's low inventory as well because, people don't want to list their homes and have it sitting on the market for, 30 plus days. The goal is that once you list it, within at least a 5-day span, you have an offer in on that home and you're working towards closing, which is usually a 30 to 45-day process.
Yeah, but in your experience, though, how many people do you think actually purchase a home with cash?
Nowadays, it depends. In the Northern Virginia area here, you do find that because you get into these bidding wars. So, usually, if you come into the table with cash, that kind of bumps your offer up because, again, with cash, there's no underwriting of a lender. So you could close, faster than a 30 to 45 day, because usually that window is mostly for the underwriting, because once you do, if you have an offer with home inspection and appraisal, that's usually at best 2 weeks out, but you don't necessarily need that underwriting piece. So you'll find there are a lot of people that come to the table with cash offers, willing to close on that home a lot faster.
Well, let me ask you this then. Am I correct to presume that the majority of people who purchase homes within America is probably getting it financed by a bank?
Oh, yeah. More than likely.
Okay. So what percentage do you think is not paying with cash is actually getting their home financed with a bank?
More than half.
Well, it has to be. Probably like 90% is what I'm... Right, 95. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people in America that have the money to put a whole...
I think it's about 90. I think there's still a good 10% that are coming to the table with cash.
Okay.
And then you have some too that they're doing like where they finance a portion of it, and then they come with more cash to the table to put down, so they don't have too much on the financing option. So like a split.
Okay.
So you do see a lot of that, but again, it's going to depend on the market in the area.
Yeah.
So you may have more lending, you know, maybe down south to Midwest versus what you find up here, and I guess we'll consider the South in Northern Virginia, but it's north.
Yeah, are we in the South?
I guess.
I guess technically we are in the South, right?
Virginia's in the South.
Yeah.
So
well, you ever see some,
we're
you
from
know,
the Midwest, so you know.
But the dialect does change if you go like 2 hours down from us, like Richmond.
Yeah,
absolutely. They do talk more country,
well,
but
even in Fredericksburg.
Yeah. In Fredericksburg is not that far from.
Not too far from here.
No, is that included in the DC metropolitan area, or is it just outside of it?
It's just outside of it.
Okay.
I think once you get past the Woodbridge area, then you're kind of outside that DMV. We always say the closer you are to DC, you add on, 10,000 for every, mile closer you get to that DC metropolitan area. So if you are moving to the area, you want to be literally in like Arlington, right there across the bridge, Crystal City and stuff. You plan to spend some big money, on a place.
But I'll tell you right now, if you want to move to this, if you plan on moving to this area, this really does not feel like the South at all.
No.
Southern Virginia, maybe the Hampton Roads area to a certain extent, we get you that Southern feel. But you probably not really hitting the South until you kind of get into like North Carolina or whatever. So it kind of reminds me, I don't want to get off subject, but when we was living in Ohio, Cincinnati is the Midwest, of course. But right across from Cincinnati is Kentucky. And even though technically it's technically in the South, it's not like the deep South. So sometimes you may hear some people with some different dialects, some accents, but more than likely not, and you kind of got that here within this area, though. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. Okay, so let's get back to this article. Once again, This is from CNN.
Okay.
It was published this month, and it's the 5 ways a debt default could affect you. Okay, so I want to name these ways and let me know if this will put a damper on the housing market, right? So the first one is Social Security. Now, I was kind of shocked when I read this. I'm not exactly sure this is accurate. It's hard for me to believe this, but they said about 66 million retirees, disabled workers, and others receive monthly Social Security benefits. 66 million? That's a lot. I mean, it's only like, 320 million within the United States to begin with. That's a lot of money. But they said the average payment for retired workers is $18.27 a month for 2023. And I guess there's a possibility that these payments could either be delayed or not paid at all because the U.S. is technically, once they hit the debt ceiling, they cannot raise any money to pay their bills, and this is like a required bill that they must pay. So, let me pose this question to you: do you think people not receiving their Social Security checks is going to affect the housing market?
Well, I don't think so. No, and I'll say this because usually if you're receiving Social Security, you're either one, in your home that you plan on being in, or two, you're on the other side. So you're on the seller side, to where maybe you're selling your home because you're moving to Florida, or you're moving, somewhere. That's where we find most of the, if you're at that Social Security age. So not too many coming into the area to where you would be a buyer, and that would be, affecting any type of financial situation. But it could affect the seller if they're trying a quick sale, or, if their house has been listed on the market for a while, which is, what we're kind of, it depends. It goes both ways. We're finding some places are going really quick. If you've, you put all the bells and whistles, in the house and, price it correctly, you can get up to, we're hearing now 11 offers on properties to where it's become these, high bidding wars. And then again, if you have a home that's just not in the right area, it could sit for a little bit. So I think that would only affect those in that, sell it on the seller side.
Yeah, that makes total sense right now. You probably want to downsize after you retire.
Right.
You don't necessarily need the home, the big house, because your children are probably grown at that point.
Yeah.
Hopefully you completely own your home, or you have a large equity in your home where you could really make a substantial amount upon selling it.
Right.
But then again, it goes to the other side. It may not affect the sellers, but it's probably going to affect the people that are trying to buy a home.
Yeah.
So the house that you will typically sell within, maybe 2 weeks here in this area may take you a longer period of time to sell. Or you may have to deduct some money off the asking price, right? So I would say it's 50-50 split on that one.
Okay.
But then again, that's only if you downsize. If you're not receiving your Social Security, I really hope that you own your home and you're still not using that money to make a mortgage payment, because if you are, that's you didn't really do your savings correctly or your planning correctly for retirement.
Yeah.
But let me go to the
above
next.
your means, maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, some people just don't plan. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
The next one is federal employees and veteran benefits.
Ooh.
All right, so I have a lot of experience with this. I remember I was technically laid off at one point in time for like 15 days, and then laid off another time for like 2 days. But there's a possibility if you're not a what's the term for it? There's a term that they use where you like required to come in, like you work in security, or you work in something that's extremely vital to the national interest. If not, and you just if not, you probably just sitting at home. The vast majority of federal workers probably going to be sitting at home without getting paid. So how will this affect the housing market?
So now that's going to affect a lot, because if you think about it, in this area of Northern Virginia, most of the population are probably some type of government worker. If you think about how transit Northern Virginia is close to DC, you got the Pentagon, 3 different bases between DC, Maryland, Virginia, major hub. So you have a lot of government workers coming in and out. And if they're not essential workers, I think
essential, that's the term I was looking for, yes.
Essential workers, then they're going to be furloughed. So I have a couple of clients that I'm working with where they're to be PCSing here, coming from overseas, which if the government shuts down, that's going to delay, them PCSing if they're not essential to coming. And so that's going to hurt the renting market. A lot of government workers, they rent for a couple of years until they know for sure whether they're going to be staying. The buying and selling side, because a lot of veterans have VA loans, and so those are a big thing here. And with VA loans, you get some benefits with that, and a lot of sellers are doing VA assumptions where they are offering it to other veterans to assume their loan at that interest rate, which we're seeing now is about 2.75%. But I would say yes, that this is a big one that could definitely hurt the market.
Yeah. So if you're like say you're looking for a home right now, you're a federal worker. I'm just putting myself in their shoes. Because I already have a home. But if they're looking and say, hey, I want to buy a home within the next couple of months, well, you probably don't want to if you figure that you're going to have a loss of income for a certain period of time until the government works itself out, right? So, you're probably going to put your house buying plans on hold. So this will definitely affect the housing market, especially in this area. Now, maybe not throughout the United States, but especially in this area.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
All right. So the next one is the financial markets, right? So basically what they're saying with this is that if the U.S. defaults on its debt, which would be the first time in history, and I want people to really understand this, the U.S. has never defaulted on its debt in history. Never. Always pays its bills. The U.S. is kind of like the Lannisters from the Game of Thrones. If you remember them, they always pay their bills, right?
I like that analogy.
Yeah, even, when I was studying for the CPA exam, they went over certain calculations of how to value a stock, right? And one of the things you want to consider when valuing a stock is the rate of return going to be greater than the risk-free rate, right? So you want to think about how risky is my investment in the stock. Whereas the risk-free rate is like, say, 3%. You want to make sure your return is definitely greater than 3%, because if not, you can just invest your money in U.S. Treasury bills, which are the default example that we use for the risk-free rate. So the U.S. Treasury bills are 3%. That's the risk-free rate. If you make an investment into a stock that's only giving you 4%, but it's extremely risky, you might as well take your money out and put it into the UST bill that would give you 3% and is basically guaranteed. But what if it's not guaranteed? And if it's not guaranteed, that's definitely going to affect the financial market. So what do you think about that? Like, for our stocks, bonds, everything is going to take a hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to definitely hurt the market, too, because some people cash out or they use some of their stocks or bonds to help with down payments and, other, renovations of a home if they decide to buy something to kind of fix her up and stuff. So definitely will hurt the housing market.
Yeah, most definitely. And then also, too, that what happens in the stock market would eventually kind of trickle down to your job, right? The stock market provides the financing to a lot of corporations. Say I got this article from CNN. Say CNN, for example, right? If they may have a loan that they use to finance their operations that is backed up by their stock. If the value of their stock go down a certain amount, and the bank, whoever gave them that loan, may come to them and say, hey, your stock went below this certain amount. Now you got to repay this loan. If they don't have the loan, they're going to default on their debt. Thereby, they're going to have to reduce some expenses by cutting their workers or whatever. And there's a lot more examples I can go over that I'm not really going to get into here. But if the stock market is really taking a tumble, eventually that's going to affect eventually it's definitely going to affect the whole entire economy and the housing market. All right, so the next one is a big one. And I already know your answer to this, but borrowing costs.
Oh.
The cost to obtain a loan.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's going to go up.
Yeah, because I mean that's the Feds trying to what they've been trying to do as they've been raising the interest rates, balance out inflation. The cost of buying your groceries.
So it's already more. It's already expensive to get a loan. It's going to get more expensive.
It's going to get more expensive because they're going to then hike interest rates to kind of offset any of that debt, that the government has defaulted on. So that's going to make it extremely hard now. And one thing I will always say though, just to kind of play devil's advocate here, is that you do date the rate, you marry the house. So even though interest rates, are climbing, and it may be something that you hadn't planned on, hopefully the hope is that rates do come down and you can always refinance, but at least you're in your dream home. So that's my one caveat.
How high does the interest rate gotta get before you feel uncomfortable?
Well, you gotta remember, at one point in the housing market, interest rates were up to 8%.
Well, no, I think they're going to shoot up higher than this.
So they could go higher than that.
Yeah, definitely.
And, it's going to be, I will say, it's going to be a battle in the market for realtors. But even if the rates go up with buyers, renters, there's people that are, have their house on the market to rent. They're going to increase as well. So, I mean, it's going to be an increase on both ends. It's always better to buy than to rent because at least you're owning that, you're building that wealth.
And I guess it will definitely hit people that have loans that have a variable rate.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. Is that a thing anymore, variable rate? I know that was during the 2008 crisis.
The fixed, now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I mean, if they have one, it's definitely going to, I think that's why we're seeing a lot of sellers kind of offering more like concessions, if you will. So they're offering points to help buy down some of the interest rates. They're offering, those VA assumable loans where you can get it at the interest rate that somebody with a VA loan was able to get. So there's other ways, but it's going to definitely take a savvy realtor to help these buyers and sellers navigate this. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, you're right. That's so true. And remember, if you move into the North Virginia area, which we call Nova, please look at my wife, Danielle Allen. She's a realtor. She has nothing but 5-star reviews on Google. And you could contact her at
Danielle, it's DONYELL .Allen, ALLEN at C21N as in Nancy, M as in Mary.com.
There you go. Now the last one here is kind of ridiculous. It's very, very true, but I think the person who wrote this article probably had wanted to put like the 4 ways. Well, really, they probably should have retitled it 4 ways a debt default could affect you, right? But maybe their editor said, no, you got to come up with an additional one. So the last one they put on here is the economy. Of course, it's going to affect the economy. It's going to negatively affect the economy, right? Everything we've been discussing is about the economy. So the economy as a whole is going to get worse. It's already terrible now.
Yeah.
It's going to get much worse. And I can tell you right now, I'm not even going to ask you this question. I want to get your input, but I already know that if the economy gets worse, the housing market is going to take a tumble.
Yes. I think that's just a given. I mean, not just the housing market. The economy gets worse, everything's going to get worse, from, car buying, housing, just grocery store, eggs, food, bread, the simple stuff. So it is, like you said, that was probably just, that's an obvious. If if we have a government shutdown, it's going to affect the economy, and therefore it's going to trickle down to affect all these other entities. Housing definitely being one.
And not just a shutdown. It's a little bit different than the shutdowns in the past. This is almost like a complete default.
Right.
Which is something, which I can tell you right now. We reading this article and we kind of thinking of this disaster scenario. This is not going to happen because I think no president wants this on their record, especially Biden. I don't think he want to be the first president in U.S. history for the government to default on his debt on his watch. I don't think that's possible. Now, he's going to have to concede a lot to the Republicans that control the House, and the Republicans is going to have to concede a lot with him because he controls the Senate barely, but he also is the executive. So they're going to have to make some concessions on both ends, and I'm pretty sure by it maybe come out May 31st, the last day of the month, that we have a deal in place. They rush it through, and
so you think that a deal will be made?
I think a deal will be made at the last minute. No, I think it's going to be last minute. Well, hold on. It may not be the last minute because
it's going to be that week though.
Yeah, it's going to be that week because remember they do want to give comfort to the markets, right? And the closer they get to that June 1st, the market is going to continue to tumble. So they want to get some comfort to the market. So, but it's definitely going to be in that last week.
I think got this week. Then you got a holiday weekend coming up.
That's true.
And then you got 2 days. So we got this week to be in session and make some deals, huh?
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Because you got this holiday coming up, which I don't think Congress is working on a holiday.
Right.
I don't think they barely work now, but they're probably not working on a holiday time frame. But I'm pretty sure a deal's going to get placed. They just seeing what the other person, whoever's going to fold first. What they both need to fold right now. So we will see.
For the American people, too.
Yeah, for the American people. Nobody wants this. People are here. We got lies out here. This is real stuff right here. This could really affect anybody at this moment.
Well, this is a good article.
No, it was a very good article. There's a lot of, you're going to see these articles come up all the time and around this, when this type of situation occurs, which is going to occur again in the future. It's going to occur multiple times in the future because for some reason our government is just not working in sync right now. I don't know if it used to do that in the past, but I don't think there was a government shutdown during the Clinton administration that was pretty long, but I don't think the ransomware, the stuff that's going on between the Republicans and Democrats, the division was so high that anybody worried that this really couldn't be fixed. Okay. So I don't know. We'll see. But let's move on to the next topic.
Okay. Well, in closing that, it kind of ties into this. So that's more of our, real estate topic there, and going to more of the love side. I actually found an article too, and this has been a lot of buzz just from the media, but in some news outlets, and that's couples who are married but they are sleeping in separate beds.
Oh, I seen something like that this morning on CBS News Sunday morning.
Yeah, so it's a big topic.
That's weird to me.
Actually, they say about 25% of American couples choose to sleep in separate beds from their partner, and kind of the big reason is the snoring or conflicting sleep, like waking up schedules, which you and I have that. You start a little earlier than I do sometimes, and so they said about 57 to 56% overall have voted to sleep separately. Now, I will say, according to this study, 63% of them are millennials who kind of agree with this, and 62% are Gen Zers.
Is that the current generation now? Okay.
Yeah. And they say it's just because of conflicting sleep and wake schedules, where they've decided to sleep separate. And then if you kind of go down, like baby boomers, or 68% say they would do it because of the snoring as a deciding factor. But most of it is just, nowadays it's the sleeping and wake schedule. So what do you think of that? Like, let me ask you this, do you ever see us doing that, where we would sleep in separate beds?
Yes, but I don't see us doing that for a long period of time. My parents was married 42 years before my dad recently passed. And I said the last 10 years or so, they probably slept separately. And they probably slept together some days of the week. But, my dad would just stay up. He couldn't really sleep a lot. And he snored. And my mother just felt more comfortable sleeping, I guess, probably without him. Because he just, he snored a lot, and he just didn't go to sleep like that, right? So if it happens to us, it's probably when we get a lot more older. But
yeah, because you snore and grimy.
yeah, I do. I don't even hear it. I don't even know that I do it. That's the problem, though. Now I will say, whoever floats your boat, if y'all want to sleep in separate beds, that's fine. I can't imagine now us sleeping in a separate bed. For one, we live in the North Virginia area where real estate is very expensive. So our townhome is like a glorified apartment. And we got 3 kids. We just don't have the space to sleep separately.
Right. I was thinking that. Where would I put you?
Yeah, exactly. Number 2, our bed is very comfortable. We just upgraded to a new bed.
No, so who gets this nice bed?
Yeah, exactly. Who gets it? I'm getting the bed. So,
okay.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I want the bed too.
And there's a certain level of intimacy that is going to be missed if we slept in separate beds.
Yeah,
and I don't. Well, I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't mean sex either. I mean like just being next to each other, watching TV at night.
I agree.
Even if you watch something I don't watch, I maybe be on my phone, but I always know that you there with me. Because I don't think I could sleep without you.
Yeah.
Can you?
I couldn't either. Because even when I go on trips, or if you're gone on trips, I don't get good sleep. Even though maybe, like, if I'm here with the kids and you're gone, the kids are, in the bed and stuff, but it's not the same. Because I know it's a kid and not my husband next to me. So I agree. I don't think it's conducive for us. Again, I'm with you. If there are, listeners out there and that's what you guys do, more power to you. That's admirable. But I think for us, it would be very difficult for me right now to say, let's try sleeping in separate rooms. Mm-hmm. Like you said, one, we don't have the space. But if we did have the space, I don't know if I would still be getting good sleep.
No, yeah, me either. I know, because every time I travel for business, I used to travel a lot more than what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
It was very difficult for me to go and sleep at night without you. And I will say, though, if your partner is doing something that's causing you not to go to sleep, to have less sleep or whatever, there's ways to mitigate it. I mean, if he or she snores, you could get some breathing attachments to your nose or whatever that can help you breathe better so you wouldn't snore. There's other things that you can do. I can't imagine anybody between the ages of 20 and 50 would want to not sleep with their spouse. Well, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's hard for me to imagine it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, too, on your thoughts on, do you think couples that are sleeping separate, that are married, though, do you think it's longevity would work in the marriage? Do they have kids? Because I know I seen this morning a couple that when they were talking about it, but they didn't have any kids.
That's interesting.
So what do you do when you throw the kids in?
I think my man was a little chunky though, so maybe they played a role in it.
But what do you do when you have kids though? Because do your kids see mommy and daddy sleeping in separate rooms?
That would be weird. I will say this though, there are some people that just marry just for the kids. And once the kids get grown, they're going to divorce, though. So you don't have the intimacy there. It's more like a partnership. But
yeah, but that's different, though, because they kind of know. I mean, but you talking about a loving, happy couple.
I can tell you this.
They sleep separate, and the kids are there, too.
I can tell you something right now. It's always the simpler things, too, that make you the happiest. One of the things that I really enjoy about my life is those days. It don't happen every single day. It don't even happen every single weekend. But some days, like on a Saturday, the kids may come in here. All 3 of them may wake up at the same time. Of course, we have our daughter in here. She's too young to be by herself. But they all wake up at the same time. They all just jump into bed with us.
Yeah.
I love that feeling.
And we're just all in there. Yeah. We don't have to get up and go to like every soccer. And
that's what I'm saying. It rarely happens.
Activities over the weekend.
But even if you do sometimes just like super early, they may just come in here and just sleep, and it's just nice to have them there. I just feel like a man with like all my family here, like I know they're protected and everything. But then also too, I grew up in a nuclear family, and I want my kids to see a nuclear family. I want them to see a healthy relationship. And I don't want them to see us sleeping, not being in the same bed together, because they're so used to it that they just, it may damage their perception of our relationship or damage their perception of what a marriage should be.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
it's just interesting, because that's kind of like the buzz is that sleeping separate, but I do think it only works in certain situations with circumstances, and I don't think it's for us. So, because even when we had our kids, though, it was nice because we had all the kids, on the side of our bed. And then you think about, you know, in the middle of the night, I'm nursing, you know, you might have been asleep, but you were kind of still there, especially with our first one. By the second and third, I think you gave up on that, you know, helping out in the middle of the night. But
yeah, that was kind of hard.
But it was nice to have you there. And then, like you said, we watch a lot of the shows together. So I don't know.
Yeah, I
don't think it would be for us though.
No, I couldn't imagine that either. And if you're not sleeping, I mean, if you're not sleeping beside your significant other, I mean, you're probably gonna be dreaming about somebody else. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think as a man, though, you just want to wrap your hands around your woman at night sometimes. I don't do it all the time. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. I just thought it was an interesting topic there.
Yeah, so, that
not for us, though.
It's not for us. No, I hope we don't get to that point. If we get to that point, we need some serious counseling. Yeah, so.
Or it could be just, you know, if our kids are off and gone, but you're snoring, I just need, you know, to get some sleep.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we do.
Back.
Now, I will say though, before we cut the subject off, right? We do have different chill spots, right?
Yeah.
We don't just stay together all day long, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about just sleeping at night.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have like your own room. This is where I primarily watch TV at. This is where I primarily do my thing. I have that to a certain extent, but as far as at night it's a different routine than it is during the day.
I agree.
You want to be next to somebody, right?
I agree.
Yeah, but you know, this new generation is
what's coming out.
It's so weird. This new generation is weird to me. I guess when my time was coming up, my dad probably said the same thing about my generation, wherever generation it was. I don't know if he was X, millennials, whatever. But I'm 39 right now, so I don't know what that makes me. But the new generation coming up is very confusing. So this is a practice that they're doing. I said more power to them. I think as long as you're in a happy, healthy relationship, do whatever you have to do to keep it, you know, to survive.
Keep it spicy.
Keep it spicy. Exactly.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening in. Tune in for another episode. We're going to have some more great topics between real estate and love. And again, if you're looking for moving to this area, Northern Virginia, or even if you're selling your home in this area, hit up your girl, Danielle.Allen at c21nm.com.
And everybody have a good night. See you then. Bye.
Thanks.